you can comfortably live.
Yes, I could have. Although I didn't move out of Ika's place. I prefer to stay.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, the first year was just those 2 deals mainly. The next year we did another 4 deals.
What?
Still with Tina.
So Tina is happy.
She was until the third deal. So the third deal was we met this African-American gentleman who, at some point, to source for leads, we would buy the city's condemned listings. So every city has a list of condemned properties, right? They post them at the city hall, and you could buy copies or have them mailed to you, whatever. So I got a list. I noticed a bunch of these homes had the same owner listed, and I used a skip tracing software to find his number. And those were easy to come by in the States. Even today, they're all over the place. They're free. You just enter the details and it gives you a set of possible numbers based on triangulation of data.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it was a guy. So I had coffee with a guy with Tina. We asked him, why do you have so many properties on the condemned? This guy had 80 properties on the condemned list. Short, chubby, stubby African-American guy, very charismatic sort of guy. And he said he was also a believer, a Christian, so our guard went down a little bit because of that. He started the meetings with prayer, ended the meetings with prayer. So we were like, okay, let's do something. So he offered us 4 of the properties for what seemed to be a good deal, $80,000. Yeah. The properties in total were going to cost another $120,000 to fix. So Tina put up some of the cash and borrowed the rest. Yeah. So now, mind you, before we buy the houses, you've done searches, you've done property inspection, termite inspection, structural, integrity inspections. Like in the States, there's order about it, and it's fairly transparent. At least we thought. So we got all these reports which said all was well. By virtue of that, the mortgage company issued the loan to fix them up. But when we started fixing up, the new structural engineers who came to do the work said, dude, your foundations are done. You can't fix these houses. You just need to burn them down and build fresh ones.
What?
Which was going to cost significantly more than we had planned for. And that all basically meant everyone who had given us a green light from the beginning had colluded with this guy to give us false inspection results. So, Tina was left hanging in that regard because it was her name and her credit on the line.
I get it.
So that we got burnt on that one by a fellow believer. He got his $80,000 in cash and bounced.
And a guy like that, you can't take him to court.
You could, but legal costs in the States are so expensive. At some point, you just weigh. Is it worth blowing another, $80,000, $100,000, $200,000 taking this guy to court only to recover costs?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think also we were shocked that was possible in the United States of America.
That level of corruption.
Yeah.
Even I'm shocked to hear it.
The mortgage broker had to sign off on those. All the inspectors, the valuers, everyone. So this guy had put together a team of all these professionals.
Who are crooks.
Yes, and this is what they would do, and they would split the take.
Oh man. So that was your first taste of corruption.
Yes. In America. So anyway, around that time, Ika had dumped me and kicked me out of her apartment.
So first and foremost, wait, don't even run over this story. So first and foremost, I want to hear going back to Tina.
Yeah.
This is now dealing with, I've not heard you talk about an experience of racism. In fact, I'm hearing you partnering with people of a different race.
Yeah.
In a place like North Carolina.
The only place I ever experienced racism was in Dallas airport on my way in. in December of 1998.
What? Ah, come on, so Lord, no, be real.
I'm
In your
serious.
11 years of being in the States,
I never felt like someone was prejudiced against me because of my race. If anything, I felt like the token friend to everyone. Everyone was happy to have me around because I was the African guy they know. I was the one African guy they were cool with.
yeah,
Yeah, honestly, I don't know why that is, because I know a lot of people like go through racist situations, but for me, I never did, man. Maybe it was just God protecting me from that on top of everything else. Would have been difficult to deal with, right?
but knowing you, that is still who you are. You're still the token friend to many, in high places, in low places, inside places. I don't feel so. Let me ask you then, what is it about your approach and your character that enabled you to enter into a partnership where this lady is trusting you with such huge, what is it? I'm trying to figure out that character, personality trait in you, or what is it about you that you literally become a magnet to some of these different people?
Man, you know, I wish I could take credit. And people ask, a few people have asked me that over the years. So how come you're friends with so-and-so? Why do they like you? Why do they let you in? Why do you get along with such and such when no one else does? And you know, I've tried to ask myself the same thing. And I've asked myself, why am I in this space? Why am I in this person's circle now? What's the purpose? And honestly, without a shadow of doubt, I can tell you there is such a thing as favor, grace. The definition of grace is undeserved favor, literally. So it doesn't make sense to try and figure out how or why, because it's undeserved. You know, it's one of those many promises God Almighty, and by this I mean the Father and God of Jesus the Christ.
Yes.
Not any other God.
Yeah.
It's one of the many promises he has made to his children, is that he shall crown them with favor. He shall give them favor with kings, their advisors, and all their powerful officials. That's in the book of Joel. Even Amos, I believe, speaks about that. And you see incidences of that all through scripture, where people, you know, show even sometimes insane favor to someone. You look at the Israelites, when they left Egypt, they were told to go and ask the Egyptians for all their gold. And guys just like, how do you just give it? You just give your slaves all your gold and then tell them to go? Like, that's some supernatural stuff.
Yeah, even Joseph being made the number 2.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
twice.
I honestly, it's the only explanation from my own experience, where people are unusually kind and accommodating of me. It's not because I look the way I look, or I sound the way I sound, or I might be polite, or all that doesn't mean anything, because there's people nicer looking than I, speak better English than I, more cultured and kinder than I, but they don't get the same opportunity. So what gives? So I'm very aware that I am blessed.
Yeah,
I am a blessed dude. And so I'm no longer surprised when it happens. My only goal is to understand why, what's the purpose, so that, because God always has a plan, what value am I adding to this person? Because it's not always about me. Sometimes it's about fulfilling something for the other person. Just as God will send people my way to add something to my life, He will send me to other people's way to add something to theirs. We are blessed to be a blessing. So, you know, I'm aware of all that, and it's an incredibly difficult thing to explain to people who are not Christian or familiar with Christianese or biblical teachings and matters of Christian faith, but it is honest truth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you've brought in your faith perspective. Again, I'm going to rewind. You did an interview with Biko Zulu. Guys, if you're listening to this, when you get time, go onto Biko Zulu's blog and website and just check out the story that he did with Solomon. I'm sure if you write Biko Zulu in Google search and you write Solomon Wangwe, it will come up. Hilarious story. I was privileged to be in the car while he was doing the interview and experiencing him. And one of the things that blew his mind when you're telling him this same story was that you slept on Ika's couch. And that stood out because he's like, what do you mean? In fact, it blew my mind because you're telling the story and you say, I slept on Ika's couch. And he's like, eh? What do you mean the couch? You're a grown man. Do you mean, why did you sleep in that space?
Yeah, I remember because question. He was baffled why I would do that. So, you know, like I said, the adversity I was going through in life caused me to be maybe introspective. I started to judge myself, my actions, my choices a lot more. I guess I started to work on me. Again, remember I said earlier that once I understood that no human being on this planet owes me a single thing, not even my parents. They gave birth to me and that's blessing enough. It's not their responsibility to take on my well-being. I mean, the fact that they clothed me and took me to decent school, I got a great education, those are all bonuses. If they didn't, it's not something they owe me. Understanding that, then
that is so powerful.
Yeah.
Dude. People don't look at their... I'm just stopping you a bit just because, especially your parents, people don't look at it from the perspective of... In fact, a lot of it like, my parents didn't do this. My parents didn't do this. And I've been one of the people who've uttered that. So while you're speaking, I'm challenged. And I'm also, what? Who thinks like this?
Well, I think those are just, I would call things that God taught me through that. Because I felt the same way. I was deep in my own self-pity. Why is this happening to me? What wrong did I ever do? It's not fair. Why won't they help me? Why won't the school give me a scholarship? You know, they're giving scholarships to much less deserving candidates and blah, blah, blah. This is a victim mentality, which is based in a sense of entitlement. As if anyone owes me anything. And so when I finally understood that, it did amazing things for me personally, just psychologically and spiritually, because it freed me to start working on the things I had control over. So therefore I started to look at myself and ask, what could I have done better? What can I do better to avoid that happening? That's one. So I started working on me more as opposed to blaming others. The second thing it did is it forced me to be creative. I started to see opportunities for more. The third thing it did was it made me so grateful. I just became a much more thankful human being. Because the next time, I remember my cousin Moots, knowing what my situation was, over a conversation just to catch up. He was in DC at the time. He asked me how things were going. I told him, and he said, okay, man, take heart. Just to encourage me, is like, let me buy you lunch today. I was like, thanks, man. At least I can take Aika out for lunch or something I wasn't able to do for a long time. And he sent me $1,200. And you know, I was in shock. First of all, I was like, dude, Kwani, what kind of lunch do you think I'm gonna have? It's like, yeah, I know you're a dude like me, you have things you wanna do, blah, blah, blah. I mean, and first of all, I didn't ask him to. Out of his own generosity, he did his own bit to be encouraging to me. And I still think about that day to day, and sometimes I'm almost moved to tears. I'm filled with gratitude for what he did. A few days later, someone offered to take us out for coffee to Starbucks. I was so, I enjoyed that coffee, you guys. I was so grateful that someone would take out of their own to enrich my experience in whatever small way. So for them, it was just coffee. For me, it was a big deal. That someone who didn't have to, someone who doesn't owe me anything, did something for me.
Yo, bro, that is so powerful. When entitlement leaves you, you begin seeing everything as almost undeserving.
Absolutely.
And with that comes something small to something big, no matter what it may be. And you're just like, the gratitude that comes from receiving.
Yes, I mean, so if there's anything I can boast over anyone, is that I've learned to be a great receiver. I'm really good at receiving. And I receive understanding. It's a grace. It's an undeserved favor. Someone is doing for me because they don't owe me anything. Someone allows me to have a meeting with them or takes my phone call that I want to discuss maybe a deal or something. That alone is a privilege.
Yo.
That they give me space to discuss an idea, even if they said no. How many people pray for a chance to pitch someone? So, you know, I found that through that process, it made me a much more thankful person in general. And I think, because I feel the same way about thankful people, the other day, a lady, just to make the point, a young lady in traffic outside Nyayo house. She couldn't have been more than 17. She was carrying a baby on her back, and this baby was screaming his head off. And she was walking around asking people for money. And she came to me, and normally I tell them, you know, because I don't know whether it's a legit situation, whether they've rented the kid to pull on your heartstrings and this type of thing. But there was something about her that compelled me to have a convo with her. And so I rolled down my window and I asked her her name. She told me her name. I asked her, who is that? She said, it's my little brother. Like, where is your mother? She's over there at the park. She pointed at a lady just sitting in the park. Why is he crying? Well, he's probably hungry and we've been standing in the sun. We just want something to eat. And I stared at her and I asked her, are you telling me the truth? She said, yes, I promise you I'm telling you the truth. So I gave her a small amount of cash, probably more than she would normally receive.
Can I ask how much, just to get an understanding of?
It was only 2K.
Okay.
So, you know,
that's not only, that's
I mean, the larger scheme of things,
yeah.
By the time you buy diapers and, I mean, it's nothing.
Yeah. But by the time they're also standing out there, they're probably expecting to get 100 shillings.
So I guess
day.
they've done their math. You know, 9 out of 10 people will tell me no. 1 out of 10 might give me 10 bob, 20 bob, 50 bob. At the end of the day, it adds up, right? So it's the law of averages that they work with. So I probably represented a whole day's collection. And
no, a whole week. But go on.
Yeah. And I remember when she took the money, she literally collapsed on the road, weeping uncontrollably. And she just kept saying, thank you, you have no idea how long it's been since we have all eaten. And that just, it broke my heart. That first of all, a human being can get to that point. And then the other thing it did is it compelled me to give more. Yeah, so I find that thankful people are pleasant to be around. And you want to give them more. You want to do more. Because they're not taking for granted what you've done for them. And I suspect that might be one of the reasons most people I know tolerate my presence in their lives is because I am generally thankful. But that was born out of that difficult period of understanding that no one owes me anything. So if they never do for me, I have no right to be bitter or angry about it.
It actually also saves you heart.
It does, yeah.
You know, I've never looked at it in that sense.
Yeah, big time.
Like if you don't have expectations on people, it automatically, whether they do something, in fact, if they do nothing, your mood is the same. But if they do something, you enter gratitude.
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Profound.
It was for me. It changed my life, man. Changed my life. To this day, I owe a lot of my life at this point to that lesson. that no one owes me anything except for God. And even then, God chose by himself to promise me certain things. And thank God he did, because he's the only one who can. Right?
I get it.
That realization for me as a Christian is an anchor for your soul in terms of avoiding offense. Because whether or not you do for me, you know, God's promise to me was not dependent on Richie doing it. If he has to get a donkey to do it, he'll do it, right? So therefore, if Richie tells me no, I don't catch feelings, because I'm relying on the only one who can.
That is just so... I mean, I've had it, but it's like I'm hearing it anew and very practical. You know what I mean? Yeah. And especially knowing you, this... as the story progresses, people are going to understand how this way of living. Every time I ask you, Solo, how are you doing? Your answer is always the same. I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed today, like I've been blessed yesterday. And it's not just words leaving your mouth. This is like a foundation on how you do business, how you live. It's like you're going to give us business principles from a very different perspective. But hold on, as we continue with this, you and Aika, so you're human. It's not like you have gratitude that she kicked you out. No, you know, I want to paint a reality picture, or I want to understand it from a reality sense. Yes, you are on top of the world with this new gratitude attitude, but were you happy when she kicked you out? It means you're homeless. Yeah,
I mean, that whole situation was a miracle by itself. But you know, by then it's something that we discussed a number of times, and I knew she was unhappy with me being there. Primarily because she was also discovering her new faith in Christ and wanting to live life a certain way that was pleasing to God. And, you know, by that point, I had been sleeping on her couch for 3 years.
What?
Yeah, slept on her couch for 3 years, uninterrupted. That in and of itself is a miracle. Because I'm a dude, I'm a red-blooded male like everyone else. I'm not holier than anyone. If anything, I have larger appetites than most dudes, being a Muluya and whatnot. Which is why, you know, it's purely God's grace, honestly, that we were able to be celibate through that period of time.
Who is thinking like that at that age?
I mean, I was fairly mature. I mean, I was in my late 20s.
Oh,
yeah. These should be standard things that we're teaching our children, but you know, because of that, her own personal faith journey and why I was reconnecting back with God, it was easy for us to do the right thing, right? But then one day I get a call from our pastor, a gentleman called Kelvin Muldrow, another beautiful human being. My life is full of beautiful human beings. Kelvin called me 7:30 in the morning, which he had never done. And I was worried because, like, why would pastor call me at this time? And he says, "Hey, Solomon, I was praying this morning devotion before I got ready for work. And as I was praying, God told me to tell you, you need to leave Aika's apartment."
Yeah.